is an important topic that we need to discuss, and it's important to discuss. However, it's not a topic that we need to discuss with younger viewers at this time. And so if you're a Connect group that has children who meet at your house, let's take a moment for you to make sure they are settled in, that they are not a part of this video, and that way you can listen well. They're not exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to yet, and then we'll come back together. So I'm gonna have a sip of coffee, and you take care of the kids real fast. Everyone settled? All right, well, let's begin. Lust is nothing new. It's spoken about in the Old Testament. We find within the Ten Commandments that beautiful gift and expectation given to us by God. Exodus 20:14, you shall not commit adultery. And friends, we know lust is absolutely adultery. Proverbs 6:25, written specifically to us fellas, do not lust in your heart after her beauty, or let her captivate you with her eyes. You know, a few years ago, some of the data shows us that 64% of Christian men and 15% of Christian women say that they watch porn at least once a month. 68% of divorce cases involve one party meeting a new lover over the internet through dating sites or social media. And in addition, 50% of divorces involved one party having an obsessive interest in pornographic websites. 47% of families in the U.S. report that pornography is a problem in their home. Nearly half of families in all of the United States, and for married couples who watch porn, there's a 300% higher rate of divorce. This information, these stats, I know are based around marriage, but friend, lust and pornography, it's so important to address both with married couples and the unmarried. Whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're engaged, there's just something special that happens during the I do's of the marriage ceremony. And so sex waits for that time. And so before that, we must protect our eyes, protect our minds, and protect our hearts. That's why at the end of every marriage ceremony, before I allow the husband and wife to kiss, I have this prayer of blessing, dedication, because there is a sacred, holy moment as a covenant between man and wife and God. And so we protect that and keep that holy. And so lust and pornography, it's so important to address both with married and unmarried individuals. You see, according to the Baptist News Global, the porn industry's annual revenue is more than the NFL, the NBA, and MLB combined. It's also greater than the combined revenues of ABC, CBS, and NBC. But lust goes far beyond porn. But in modern days, of course, this sexualized material online is often a catalyst for a broader sin. However, before technology, it was a glance at an image, or even in David's case, a glance out his window at Bathsheba, or simply an untamed thought. An individual without self-control finds themselves living on a slippery slope of sexual promiscuity and perversion. This is not a topic spoken about enough in church, and that's me saying that as a pastor. And lust and pornography have become a plague, an epidemic in modern society, and the evil one, sometimes it seems, is winning the day when it comes to the perversion of sex. Sex is God made. God told Adam and Eve to go be fruitful and to multiply, which, let's be honest, can only happen through sex. It is a gift from God, but through the perversion of the perversion of the mind, the perversion of the eyes, the perversion of the heart, what God made for good, this fallen world is twisted for evil. Lust and pornography, it brings about guilt and loneliness, and it's that guilt and loneliness which can easily bring back around the broken acts of lust and pornography. It's this sinful, broken cycle. Have you found yourself entrapped in this plague? The good thing is our God is the chain breaker of guilt, the giver of hope, the redeemer of a messy past. David lusted, which caused sex beyond marriage, which led to murder, and even David found himself forgiven. I've asked a speaker and minister I met several years ago to share his story on lust and grace.
There's a topic I talk about from time to time called the lie of guilt, and how guilt causes us to withdraw from one another relationally. And there was a story years ago that happened to me. Early in our marriage, Kelsey and I were away and we were in a hotel, and it was late. I couldn't sleep. I looked over, she was asleep. I'm just kind of flipping the channels as you do in a hotel room, and all of a sudden I came upon a movie, and it was a sex scene. And instead of doing what I should have done, which is to immediately turn the channel, I turned to my left to see if my amazing wife is asleep. And I look, and she looks asleep. And so I turn back to look at the screen and to watch this scene. And I'm watching this scene, and maybe like 30 seconds, a minute goes by, and all of a sudden my wife turns over to look at me, and she says, "Brock, I've been lying here waiting for you to turn the channel, and you didn't." And I take the remote, I turn the TV off, and in the darkness of night, I laid there and I could feel my heart beat. I never spoke a word. She never said another word. I just laid there in my guilt, finally fell asleep, and the next morning, she was showering. I woke up, she's getting ready. I didn't want to look at her. I didn't want to speak to her. I felt really bad, really guilty. And it reminds me of, I think it's Luke chapter 6, where Jesus does this amazing miracle. Peter happens to be there because it's on the water and it has to do with fish. And Jesus looks at Peter and says, "Hey, follow me." In the midst of this, Peter falls to his knees before Jesus and he says, "Get away from me. I am too sinful." And Jesus goes, "Dude, just follow me." And he ends up following him, but that whole thing of like, get away from, that's the lie of guilt. The lie of guilt says, I'm too filthy, I'm too messy to be used by you, or even to be worthy enough to experience you. And so we will listen to the lie of guilt that causes us to withdraw, to disqualify ourselves. And it's sneaky because we are guilty. We are unqualified. And yet God's grace is so big, and he sees something in us that maybe we won't see, or can't see, or don't see in ourselves because of that sneaky lie of guilt.
As we wrap up the video segment and you turn to discussion, I know this can be a difficult discussion, and if there's parts of your life that at this moment you don't feel comfortable sharing in large group, share with someone you trust, your spouse, a brother or sister in Christ. If you found yourself stuck in the broken cycle of pornography and lust, share with someone who can hold you accountable. And if you don't have those close friends that can hold you accountable, come and find a ministry staff member for us to be able to help you to the greatest of our ability. Friends, we love you. This is a deep discussion you're about to get into. Blessings upon your discussion.